Hey everybody, welcome to the Facebook Live. Nice to have you here and welcome again to the group if you're brand new here. We are talking tonight about, or this afternoon, about how to make marketing less scary. So, how to make everything much more comfortable when you are promoting yourself. So, welcome. Let me make sure everything is working. So, you guys who are joining in, let me know a couple of things. Number one, where you are. Number two, if you've ever seen me before. If you're new to the group, you might not have ever seen or interacted with me at all. So, if so, it's nice to meet you. And let me know if you find marketing yourself and promoting yourself to be at all uncomfortable and why. So I could talk about kind of what you mean personally by marketing being uncomfortable or promoting yourself being uncomfortable. So tell me all of those things. Let me know what's going on. Let me open my chat box thingy. Nice to see you here. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, type that stuff in as you get in here and you start hearing me. There's like a 30-second lag. So between the time I ask you to tell me something and the time you actually comment, it'll take a half a minute. So that's always fun. All right. So why is promoting yourself as a dog trainer uncomfortable? What is uncomfortable about it? Like I asked that question in this group a few days ago. And actually that phrase of promoting yourself comfortably came from a survey that I did. So a few days before that poll that I did, I asked everybody in the group to fill out this survey about your biggest struggles and what's going on and how your business is going and what kinds of things are frustrating about running a dog training business, just to kind of get some ideas on things that you guys might like and extra things that I could do as training and stuff like that. So one of the people who answered that survey said that he, is kind of introverted, as almost all of you are. I did a poll in here a while back about personality type stuff, and 95% of you identify as introverts. We got into the business because we wanted to be around dogs, not necessarily people. And the introversion sometimes can cause a lot of discomfort when it comes to anything that feels just like being out there, being in front of people, being watched, promoting yourself on social media, feeling like your privacy is invaded to an extent, that people just know who you are. It's uncomfortable for a lot of us, unless you happen to be one of the rare extroverts of the group, or a certain personality type. That kind of stuff just might be a little uncomfortable. So mainly we're talking about the discomfort right now about advertising, actually just getting your name out there, being able to be found, people knowing you exist, that side of marketing, just the actual getting found part. But of course, there's discomfort involved in other areas of running your business and even other areas of marketing, answering the phone, selling, going to people's houses, teaching. All of those things can be uncomfortable as well. So right now, let's talk mainly about just the promoting yourself side of things, just the advertising side of things. One quick reminder, we have a special workshop going on right now that we rarely redo because a lot of the principles are kind of universal and stay the same, but strategies change over time. So we decided it was time to redo this workshop. So all the details about this workshop, it's called the Get Your Name Out There workshop. It's all about the advertising strategies that work best for us as dog trainers in particular, how to make those decisions. So when new things come up or things change with social media, or a new tool becomes available or a new website shows up, you'll be able to make these advertising decisions without wasting any time or money or effort or decision fatigue on whether or not you should even bother advertising in those spots, and different ways of just maximizing your advertising. So how to word things, what kind of people look in different spots, what kinds of things to say in different contexts or different social media sites or whatever, different ways of using each type of advertising method so that you can maximize it and save a lot of time and effort and money. So we're going to talk about a ton of new things in this version of the workshop. Registration for it is closing soon though. So whenever you watch this video, if you're watching live, you still got time. If you're watching this as a recording, check out the link below or the one I'm about to say. And if it's open, get in while it's open. If it's not, get on the wait list for whenever we do it again. So that link right now, always the current workshop we're running is going to be at makeitasadogtrainer.com/workshop. So just go there, makeitasadogtrainer.com/workshop. You'll see it there. I'll put the link in the description and, of the post here in this Facebook group as well later on. So you can go there. At the moment, it's about to close though. So just get in as fast as you can. So the different reasons why a lot of you have told me that being out there and promoting yourself can be a little out of your comfort zone is for the reasons that I mentioned before, the feeling that you have to be out there in public, that you need to maybe train your dog out in a park and talk to people in a dog park, or walk around town with a dog trainer shirt and hope that people come up to you, and then if you're training your dog in public a lot, then there's always that fear that you're going to be like that bear trainer on the news where the bear is unpredictable and went and attacked the lady. You don't really know all the time if your dog's going to screw up, and it can be embarrassing, or just the fear of the embarrassment. It can be something that holds you back. Or again, just being seen, having to feel like you have to just be watched can be very uncomfortable. So there's a few things to keep in mind if those are the things that you're struggling with in particular when it comes to promoting yourself, or even just social media. What do I post? How much about myself do I post? How much do I say? Am I going to get argued with by other dog trainers and have the stress of that? Am I going to be attacked by somebody who doesn't like my methods? Is it just all these things and fears can come up? And that survey, what he said is that because he tends to be kind of introverted, that he tends to not post at all, as much as he would like to be able to help people and be able to be available and be able to be seen so that he can help people. The fears and the nerves can cause you to just not do something. And I can totally relate to that, because I told you guys the last time I did a live, I have to announce in advance that I'm doing a live, or it comes down to the moment where I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And then I just want to go live because it's uncomfortable. It has to be like something that's out of my control. I already told you I was coming. Same thing with pretty much like social media posts and sending emails. Sometimes I have to pre-schedule those because I might be having a moment of imposter syndrome, which is, you guys who've been here for years and years would think I would not have any reason for that. And, send me all kinds of love all the time. And there shouldn't be any reason for that. And I still get that sometimes. And I'm like, I don't really feel like posting this right now or sending this email right now. So sometimes I have to pre-schedule that stuff when I'm feeling confident. So I totally get all of that. One of the most important things to remember with anything that's uncomfortable, there's two things. There's one is that you might not need to do the uncomfortable thing. So I'll get to that. But the second thing is that the most important thing to always remember with all of your decisions in your dog training business is that you got into this business for certain reasons: to make people's lives better, to make dogs' lives better. So you have to always keep reminding yourself of, especially if you've been doing this for a while, the successes that people have had and the lives that you've changed, the people who tell you that their lives are so much better because of you. You have to always remember that those are the people you're talking to, is kind of a younger, previous version of your most favorite clients. You're there to serve them. You're there to show sympathy and empathy for those people and help their lives be better. And those are the people you want to talk to and the people you want to interact with. You don't necessarily have to talk to anybody else directly before people get to the point of coming to you to ask you for that sympathy and ask you for that help. So everything that is involved in being out there and talking to strangers and being seen by people who aren't even necessarily interested in your service, those kinds of advertising methods may not be what you need to do or focus on. And some of them don't even work that well. And you just might think that that's just natural, normal way of promoting yourself as a dog trainer. And you have to. It's just something you have to do. You say, how do I get my name out there? How do I get people to find me? How do I find clients? And then people in Facebook groups will be like, well, just go train your dog in public and people will see you and want your service. And that's a common piece of advice, and it can work, but it's highly uncomfortable to most of you, to most of us. I'm like mildly extroverted and it's still uncomfortable to me. So totally get that. So just remember that, again, you're there to be of service to people and you're there to be sympathetically engaged with people and knowing what they're going through and being able to help people. But that doesn't mean that you have to be in front of people who don't even want your help. You don't need to be known by everyone in the world. You don't need to be seen by everyone in the world. You don't need to train in public. You don't need to have your privacy invaded. You don't need to be watched. You only need to do one thing. You just need to be able to be found by people who are looking for a dog trainer. That's pretty much it. It doesn't matter who else knows you. So one of the biggest principles to remember about dog training as contrasting it with other kinds of businesses a lot of times is that there's two different kinds of advertising, really. There's kind of the branding world where you worry about being a brand. You're worried about being seen and being known, whether people need your services or not. They just know who you are. And then there's what marketing people call direct response marketing, which basically means that when people need what you do, they can find you. And that they usually will take action on that need pretty quickly. So it doesn't matter if they know you for years. It matters if they can find you when they need you and they will buy it when they need it. So that is basically the difference in how you might want to approach some of your advertising is this for branding or is this for the direct response stuff? Can I be found when people are looking for my service? And are they likely to take action after they find me? Or am I just known by everybody? And the being known by everybody is uncomfortable and not the most effective for us anyway. So as a kind of an example to this, when we lived in Pennsylvania, we did the training out of our house. We had no signs. We were not on a public road. We lived in the middle of a really quiet neighborhood, and everything was just out of our house. No facility, nothing. And there were several other dog trainers in the area. One had a facility on the main road that people passed by all the time. One of them had this billboard on the highway. Everybody knew who they were. At the same time, we also had programs that were twice as much and half the length of those other training companies. And nobody knew who we were unless they were looking for a dog trainer. So if they went online and they typed in dog trainer PA or dog trainer near me, they could find us. And that was all that mattered. So then I only had to interact with people who were already raising their hand and saying, I really want your help. I've seen your website. I like you. I want you to talk to me. And that's a totally different kind of interaction to talk to somebody who wants you to talk to them than to just talk to everybody in the public. Just the feeling of it is a lot more comfortable. So I loved that. I kind of didn't feel like even the other dog trainers knew who I was in the area, which was a little more comfortable in some ways. So that is one thing to keep in mind, is that knowing how people tend to take action on dog training as a service can change the way you advertise it and change the way you say things in your advertisements as well. Are you talking to people who know they want your service, or are you talking to people who know they have a problem and they don't know that there's a service for that? Then you talk about why does your dog, how to get your dog to stop jumping instead of dog trainer services. So what your language and how you talk to people is going to be different depending on the audience as well. So knowing that 95% of you guys are introverts, another thing you have to keep in mind is that you do have to protect your mind, and you do have to have time to recharge, and you do have to have ways of protecting yourself from too much peopling. So it's besides the fact that you don't necessarily need to do the things that are highly peopling related in your advertising effort. Besides knowing that those things can be effective, they might not be the most effective, and that you don't have to do them, that you can do other types of advertising to get people to find out you exist. It's important to allow yourself that ability to say no to certain types of advertising methods, even if they might get you a client here and there, because you do have to keep yourself from hating your business. That is a requirement. If you start hating the business, you start hating the way that you feel like it takes to get clients, then you won't be able to help anybody. You'll just burn out immediately and you'll quit, or you just won't do as well. You won't enjoy the business as much. And enjoying the business, I think, is just as important as being successful. Being successful includes enjoying it. So if you have to do things to avoid some of the most uncomfortable things that aren't necessary, you're going to have things that you have to do in your business that are uncomfortable that are necessary. You might as well avoid the ones that you don't have to do. That's just really important. So do what's easy first and nail those things when it comes to advertising. And then add on the more uncomfortable things if you want to later on, especially if you get more confidence from all your success stories and stuff like that later on. So those are my thoughts initially. So let me see what you guys are saying, and then we'll just kind of add on to these principles and ideas and see what thoughts and ideas you guys have. So let me scroll through the comments here. Wisconsin here, we've met and did an impromptu one-on-one a few years ago. That's awesome. Alaska, I haven't talked to a lot of people from Alaska. That's awesome. Welcome. So someone says, I've done several of Molly's courses and she is fantastic. Best coach ever. She's worth every penny, every cent and more. Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. Northern Michigan, San Diego. I came from Impact and loved it. I couldn't afford workshops / Peak quite yet. Well, looking forward to having you in Peak whenever you can make it. That's awesome. I'm glad you got to be in Impact. So yeah, and if you need help with the advertising side of things, would love to have you in that, because it's super cheap workshop, much smaller investment than Peak. So it might be a good fit for you right now. So tell me more about you guys, anybody who's here live. Tell me more about what makes you uncomfortable about marketing, and if any of these things are reassuring to you, that you don't necessarily have to do the things that are the most uncomfortable. And is there anything about any other part of marketing that you feel like is the most uncomfortable that you wish that you had an answer to? If you're not live and you're watching this as a recording, either on YouTube or in the Facebook group, put it in the comments down below so I can help you with that as well. You can always do another follow-up video about another thing that's uncomfortable. So making marketing less scary is really, really fun. Let me scroll back through, see if there's anything else. I'm going to head over to the actual Facebook and see if there's any I'm missing. Okay, I don't see any other comments on here that are not showing on my side. So if I miss your comment, I'll answer you in the actual comments section. So that is the top. Those are the top things about making marketing a little more comfortable that I wanted to mention. And keeping in mind the most important part, which is that the main focus for you in advertising right now is to be able to get people to find you who are actually looking for a dog trainer. Because once they contact you and they're actually looking for your service, the interaction with people is not nearly as bad. A lot of times the discomfort comes from the feeling that you have to be in front of everybody, whether they're interested or not, or you have to try to make people interested in your service. And you don't need to focus on that first, because there's plenty of people in your area who already want your service. So focusing on those people first is the easiest and most comfortable and the most effective way, because those are the people that, marketing nerds call service aware. They are not just mildly aware of their own problem or mildly aware of a solution, or not even looking for the solution or the service yet. When you're talking to people who are just mildly aware of their problem, then it's all about just trying to make them want your service. And that can be uncomfortable as well. You feel a little bit more pushy. So if you're trying to avoid anything that feels even remotely pushy, going for people who already want what you have is obviously a lot easier. So that is the most important thing to remember about your marketing efforts in the beginning, is to focus on that. And then within that, there's all the strategy stuff. Like, where do you advertise? Do you advertise on Google? Do you advertise on Facebook? Do you do organic posts on Facebook and encourage people to ask you for advice? Do you give free advice? What do you do to actually get people to be interested in interacting with you or contacting you? Do you do other types of offline advertising, increasing your word of mouth, getting more vets to refer you, getting your past clients to refer you more often? Do you figure out how to increase all of that? Do you do signs somewhere? Do you put your information on your car? There's like a million different ways to advertise, and there's very specific psychological reasons why certain things work better for certain trainers, for certain geographic areas, for certain personality types, for certain types of training, all kinds of variations that you need to be aware of, and psychology that you need to be aware of about each thing. And then whichever advertising method you pick, being able to do it the best way. So there's strategies within those as well. So making all those decisions and getting that clarity is a skill. Just like every other marketing thing is a skill. Packaging what you offer is a skill. Pricing is a skill. Sales is a skill. Talking to people, writing your website. All of these things are things you need to learn. And advertising is one of those things. You can't just do it. It's not just something, marketing isn't just something you do. It's something you learn. And just like learning to train the dogs, just as equally important part of your business is learning how to run the business and how to get clients. So that's what we're here for. That's why I'm here, to help give you a huge shortcut that, I and other dog training business coaches in this group didn't have, that we had to figure it out on our own. And that's why we're here to help. So let me see here. Feeling inferior to other dog trainers and pushing boundaries within my own advertising. How to create some creative eye catchers with your branding. Yeah, those are definitely some challenges for sure. So when it comes to feeling inferior to other dog trainers, so that can obviously just hold you back with being able to even be willing to be found, because it makes you nervous to even say that you can accomplish something that you feel unsure that you can even accomplish. And that is definitely like, who am I to say that I can do this? Or who am I to be available to people for this service? Because, you just feel like, oop, I'm hitting my desk, so my camera's bouncing around. How can I be able to even offer this service and be comfortable even offering the service, let alone advertising it, if I feel inferior to other trainers? So you have to remember that you know a lot more than the people you're going to be helping. And you can always improve your dog training skills, and that's always a great thing to do. And I think we as dog trainers tend to mainly focus on improving dog trainer skills when we are not doing well, or we're struggling, or we have any kind of imposter syndrome thing going on, because we feel like that will fix it. If we are better at our service and we're better at the actual dog training and we know how to do a ton more things, then maybe we'll feel better about advertising, or maybe that skill and that knowledge will just attract more people somehow. And that's not always the complete fix. It doesn't always fix everything. It's always great to learn more things. And if you feel like you get a lot of dog problems that you don't know how to handle, definitely getting more skills in the dog training side of things is great. But 99% of you, that's not the problem. It's not that you need to now go learn how to do another dog training skill. You're doing that to fix the imposter syndrome thing or help with that thing. But the problem is that you just need to get more clients who love you. And there's tons of people that you can help. And there's tons of people who would be happy to tell you that you changed their lives. And those are the things that are going to make you feel like you deserve to help people. And you know a lot more than those people. Those people need your help, and they are there already, and they're looking for you. And you need to make sure you're available to them as a service to humanity. And that's kind of your responsibility as someone who knows something more than other people know it. So keep that in mind, that most of you aren't at the point where your dog training skills stink so bad that you can't have your business open. That is not the case for pretty much anybody, any of you that I've ever worked with one-on-one or in any of the workshops. None of you are terrible dog trainers, so if you feel like you are and you need more skills, or you get a lot of people who complain, or you get a lot of people with problems that don't get resolved after your program, that's another story. That's not the case. Just keep going and just know that you have a responsibility to help the people who know less than you do. And that's basically all you're looking for, is those people. So I hope that helps. That's kind of just something that I had to come to terms with a little bit in my case as well, as a dog trainer and as a coach over the years. So definitely understand. Our problem is just balance, identifying what I should put our time and effort into and making time to rock that out. Yes, definitely. Figuring out kind of what should get your focus and why, and making kind of the priority decisions. So which things are going to have the biggest impact the fastest, which things to focus on. Definitely a huge area, especially one of the reasons that we decided to do this workshop, because it gives you so much clarity. It saves you so many decisions and so much time in thinking about what to do and what to focus on. So that tip I gave earlier about focusing on the people who are actually looking for your service can be a big one, because then you can decide, okay, well, is this going to be that, or is this going to be just be seen by everybody, whether they need my help or not, or even have a dog. So if you know that you can focus primarily on just the people who are actively looking for a service, it saves you a lot of that decision. But then, again, drilling down into which strategy do you pick and how do you maximize that so that you don't waste time and effort and money testing something that's already been tested to death. And you might as well just do what's working for everybody else and start with that and then tweak it from there. That helps a lot. The other problem is that tons of trainers will say, oh, this thing worked really well for me. So, for example, I did this poll a couple weeks ago about what advertising methods work well for you. I just said, which advertising methods work well for you? Or which ones have you tried? I forgot how I worded it. And everybody, or which one do you rely on? I think that's how I worded it. And people checked it off. And then, Adam commented on it, and we were talking about whether or not it should have been worded more like, out of you guys who are successful and make X number of dollars at least, which ones do you use? And the thing is that I know already which advertising methods are used by the most successful dog training companies. What I wanted to know is which ones are commonly used by everybody, whether you're successful or not. So the problem is that you will get advice in groups like this where people are like, oh, I tried this thing and it worked amazing. They recommend an advertising company, somebody who runs ads for you. Or they'll recommend a certain website to advertise on, like bark.com or Thumbtack or whatever. And they'll say it worked amazing. It's so great. And the problem is that I'm kind of, as the group admin and the one kind of responsible for helping you guys make these decisions, I have to kind of be aware of whether or not this worked for me really is a valid thing to say. For example, when somebody recommends an ad company, I might know that they have a terrible reputation and I don't want to badmouth people publicly. So I'm like, if somebody recommends them, I kind of just want to delete the comment because I know they have a bad reputation. But the same goes for websites and things like that, like bark.com and Thumbtack, things that are inconsistent, things that consistently work well for a very small percentage of people for a very specific reason. So then they'll say, this worked great for me. And you'll think, great, somebody said it worked great for them. And then you'll go and try it and it doesn't work for you and 99% of everybody else. So working great is very subjective. For them, it might be, I spent $20 on ads and I made $21. So you kind of have to take some things with a grain of salt when someone says it worked great for me. So that can throw off your focus as well, because people recommend something and you try it and it completely fails and you think that you're the failure, and it's not. It's just that it doesn't work for the majority of you. It works for a very small group of people who do it a very small specific way that's hard to replicate. So there's information like that too that's always helpful to just know somebody who knows just kind of what works for the majority and why, and be able to help you make those decisions, especially in principle. So if anything new comes up that's similar, you'll be able to make that decision in the future without so much new always having to test everything yourself. So yeah, totally get that problem completely. I'm never comfortable discussing prices during the consultation when a client wants me to make a hybrid that is a combo of a couple of my programs. So that's kind of different side of marketing. So you have like the advertising, getting people to find you, and then below that is getting people to contact you, and then below that is getting them to sign up, and then below that is how much they spend. So there's different areas of your marketing that are affected along their path. So getting them to find you is the top part. That's mainly what this workshop's about and what we're talking about today. And then once they're on your website, getting them to contact you. And then once they contact you, doing a consultation and getting them to sign up, and then getting them to figure out how much to spend, maximizing your income per client. And that's related to your programs and pricing. So your programs and pricing and your sales process kind of being related, when they start looking at your programs like a menu and trying to kind of like piece things together, take something out of this program and put it here. Usually that's a sales process problem. Sometimes it's a program creation problem that your programs need restructuring. But usually it's something that has occurred in your sales process. It's making people look at your programs in that kind of mathematical logic decision-making way where they can kind of look at the programs like everything is a la carte. And so something in your communication probably needs to be adjusted so they stop doing that and they stop viewing it that way. Usually one of the easiest ways to do that is to have no more than 3 programs. Tell people, if you want to, that most people fit into one of the 3 programs exactly the way they are, but if they feel like they need more options, to feel free to ask. And that's it. So you tell them most people pick them as they are, but you also tell them that they can ask for more options. So that way, if they can't afford any of these programs, they'll tell you and they'll say, I'd love to work with you, but this is just out of my budget at the moment. Is there anything else you can do? And then maybe there's like a super mini version of the program that you can whip out of your pocket in the moment. So there's a lot more that goes into that, but that's just a real quick, like little piece of advice on that, is to make sure you're not presenting it accidentally as something that they can customize or that you're expecting them to customize every time. Don't let them pick just simply based on their needs. And those are all like things that we talk about in the program creation workshops as well. So I hope that helps in the meantime. Currently having a problem getting my clients. Currently having a problem getting clients. I have set up my SEO and still working on it, but not having anyone contact me. I'm currently using Google Ads, and in the past I have just used Nextdoor. That did not work for me, but that did work for me, but now it's not working anymore. Okay. So there might be some things that need to be tweaked. Your SEO might need some more work. It might just not have kicked in yet. It takes a little while for it to start working. Google Ads can be super effective depending on how they're done and how they're set up. So there's a few different strategies related to that can be affecting their effectiveness. And geography sometimes can affect that as well, where you are, how much competition there is in the area. And then if you try something like Nextdoor or some other website or some other app and it works for a while and it stops working, usually there's a fundamental reason why. You'll get like this little bit of a surge and it's not sustainable. And there's usually some kind of either psychology or strategic reason why that is. So again, that's one of the reasons I love this workshop, is because it helps with clarifying all of that stuff. And it's too much for me to cover in any individual free training because there's so much variation. So we have to kind of look at a lot of different factors to figure out, okay, if you're in this kind of area and your client or your ideal client is like this, and this is how they feel about your service or whatever, that your advertising methods will be affected this way. So there's so many variables like that to consider. But testing something, once you know what works really well and just nailing that, then you can kind of start adding other things in and testing them. You want to start with the things that work consistently for the majority, and then add on the things that occasionally work if you want to and you have time. But you might not even care at that point because you're getting enough clients. So things like Nextdoor and Thumbtack and Facebook ads and things like that might work, inconsistently. And maybe you'll start dabbling with them after you get core things that consistently work done, and then work on that kind of stuff. So when you test something and it flops and it stops working, then there's always a reason, and you can sometimes figure out what that is, but you might not even need to be focusing on that particular thing because it might just be inconsistent for the majority. And then it's not a real big priority. I'm rhyming now. That's awesome. I remember the discussion of a card or paper to give a description of your programs, how to make that not such an awkward process. That's kind of another sales process related question. So we should definitely save some of these questions for that. But when you are in your middle of your consultation, if you've already done the program creation work and you have wonderful program descriptions, you should use those program descriptions as part of your sales conversation and literally have them read them, because those are meant to pull them toward a certain program, usually the bigger ones, and help them see the value of your services in that context in the moment. So yeah, having them printed out and saying, now I'm going to tell you about the programs. I have them printed out here. Even if you read them on the website already, go ahead and read through them again so you can tell me if you have any questions about the differences between them, and then hand them that paper and let them read them in the moment. That usually is relatively straightforward and not uncomfortable. The only discomfort with that and the only thing that's awkward about that is that while they're reading, it's silent in your head. So it feels very awkward for you. It's not nearly as awkward for them. So don't worry about that. Just read on, play with your phone, play with their dog. It's just awkward for you because it's quiet, but it's not quiet in their heads. They're reading, so that is, that hopefully will help you with the awkwardness of that part of the process. Having them printed out definitely is helpful. Somebody says SEO is so difficult. Definitely true. Definitely need to get professional help with that. So I have some wonderful resources on that as well. So feel free to PM me if you'd like a recommendation. Not my company. I have no axe to grind with that. Definitely something that you need outside help with, because the technical side of thing is not something that any of us, for the most part, enjoy learning. So you don't want to have to beat your head against the wall learning the tech side of SEO. Might as well get somebody who already knows it and just do what you do best. The other comment on that comment is, Nextdoor cost me $200 for under 6 leads. So yeah, I feel like it depends on the business. Some people would say that that's not too much to spend for a lead, depending on how many of those people sign up and how much they spend. So if you spent $200 for 6 leads and 3 of those people signed up for $4,000 program, now it's not such a bad deal. If you have $100 group classes and 3 of those people signed up, not such a great deal. So there's more to it than everything. So when you're making advertising decisions, you kind of have to look at all your numbers. How many leads do you need to make the amount of money that you want, based on how much you're getting per client, based on how many leads tend to sign up? Like, there's so many things like that you have to consider that are different for each of you. And then that would affect your decisions as well. One of the things that I love doing in the workshop is helping you figure that out mathematically, of like, okay, how much do you usually make per client? How many of your consults usually say yes? And therefore calculating out how many leads you actually need, and therefore how many people you need finding you every month, more than what you already have. Or is there some other problem? Like, are you getting enough leads? And now okay, I've got that covered. I have that clarity. When I do need to do more advertising, I know how to do it. But my real focus needs to be on the pricing side of things, or the sales process side of things. It gives you all of that clarity as well when you know how to look at those numbers. So yeah, I would say $200 for 6 leads is, for most of you, going to suck. But part of that is because you need to increase your income per client. And part of that is because there's definitely cheaper ways of getting 6 leads. So yeah, and it just depends on your business and how you make that decision. What is ideal to include in SEO other than location that would be ideal to bring you up to those seeking training? So for SEO, that is definitely an SEO expert related question. So getting somebody who knows the tech side of that is going to be able to answer that question a lot better than someone who knows the psychology side of it. So the people side of it is very different from the robot side of it, like Google, and what affects that. So that's definitely a question for Tom, who's the big SEO expert in the group. And so maybe Tom can weigh in on that. So I'll tag him in this post for that question to help you out with that. But yeah, location, your website needs to definitely have your location on it anyway, because when people do find it, if they cannot figure out where you are in a heartbeat, that's really frustrating. If they nothing is more irritating than looking for a service and finding something that looks good and then realizing they're across the country. So, and they can't help you. So that's definitely an important thing just from a client's perspective, for sure. So keep that in mind. Okay. So again, you have the people side of it, what works as far as getting people to take action, getting people to find you, getting people to do things, getting people to know you exist. and the robot side of it of getting Google to show you to people. So then there's the SEO and there's paid ads. And then making that decision is all strategy related as well. So all the things that we're talking about, all the variables, all that stuff. And then figuring out the tech side of it is a totally different thing. So the workshop, just for full disclosure, full clarity, is about the strategy and the psychology and the decision making and how to word things, all that stuff, not tutorials on the actual softwares. So if you decided, for example, I think that knowing all the things now and having all the clarity that what I want to focus on is Facebook ads. The workshop does not include a Facebook ads tutorial. That's something that you can learn on Facebook or on YouTube. So I don't need to show you the tutorial, that already exists. Making the decision is the hard part. Knowing the strategies is the hard part. And that's definitely something we cover. Or those are all the things that we cover. And tons more stuff like that. Let's see here. Scrolling down. I think I got everything. Okay, so I'm going to end on that note. Thank you guys for the wonderful questions. That was awesome. I hope this was helpful to you. Don't forget to head over to makeitasadogtrainer.com/workshop immediately before it closes and get into that workshop. If you go there later, you watch this later and it's closed, there'll be a waitlist option on there so I can let you know next time it opens. And you can always send me a private message on Facebook or send me a text message on the phone number that will be somewhere in the description or the comments down below after I'm done recording this. And you can get in touch and find out what we've got going on at the time that you watch this. Okay, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it so much. And keep asking questions. I'll be watching for them and replying to the comments myself. So looking forward to talking to you more soon. And catch you guys next time. Thank you for being here. Bye.